he was determined to do it anyway because he knew they were ready for a child. My mother had gotten pregnant 5 years earlier, shortly after they married. That baby lived to 11 months of age. At 11 months, it was wintertime, and my father's mother and her sister-in-law insisted on bathing the baby. It was ice cold. It was the middle of winter. My mother begged them not to. And the baby caught pneumonia and died. So her attitude was, I couldn't keep my baby alive. This is my fault that this baby died. I'm not fit to be a mother. This is why she was resistant to ever having another child. And this is the part that I didn't get the first time around. All I saw was the resistance to the pregnancy. So Sunday, I received a totally different take on it. And so it was, again, it was freeing. It was very, very freeing to see that it's not that that I wasn't wanted, but it's that my mother's perception had to change. And then my father's attitude was, yes, we are ready, for a child. And and I realized I was very welcome, because I always had that question, in my mind. Was I even wanted effectively? So, and yet I knew that my mother had such innate kindness that she could not have had a baby that she didn't want. So there seemed to be a conflict in my mind, and that kind of got resolved. But anyway, occasionally there are what you call victim souls. There are souls that actually will take on a lifetime that to our ego eyes looks like a lifetime of persecution, or a lifetime of misery, because the child is maybe has something akin to cerebral palsy from the time it's born, and it just never lives beyond maybe 9 years of age. I have friends right now that are I have the daughter and the mother are both my friend, and she gave birth to a little one that has Tay-Sachs disease, and he's expected to live to the age of 4. And even at this point, he's just over a year old, and he can't hold his head up at all. And so there is that, again, that sense of the grandmother is fully resigned with it. She and I have studied A Course in Miracles since 1995 together, but the mother is still in this place of persecution, a feeling that, why me? Why am I victimized? And everything. But I've just prayed on it. I do go Monday, typically every Monday, to just do a healing on the child, but I do a healing for the family. I do a healing for acceptance for the whole family. But all right, the next thing I wanted to cover was occasionally, if you run into, because this is something that's been coming up time and time again for me, if you run into people who are seeing spirit, because this is going to happen more and more and more, because all the babies coming to the planet are coming, so many of them are coming to the, with the gift of spiritual sight. So one of the things that I would like you just to remember is just try to alleviate the fear that they're feeling. And even the children as young as 7 can understand that they can do something to send the spirit to the light, so that they don't have to be afraid of it. Because unfortunately, as they're afraid of the spirits are a very low vibration. and they're very frightening. Because it's not the angelic realm that's revealing itself to them. It's the spirits that are more, or the beings in light that are more fear-based. So and interestingly enough, I've been working both with mothers and with children that are seeing spirit, and so I have to constantly and I guess the word I'm getting is re-educate them about not being afraid, because all the dimensions exist at the same time in the same place, and you can't. There's no reason to be afraid. Okay. One of the things that one of my articles has is "Ask and you shall receive." There's no better person on this planet that has carried that message forward than Esther Hicks. Esther and Jerry Hicks with "Ask and it is given." After listening to their tapes for like 6 months and listening to a variety of tapes, I finally figured out that, oh my God, they all say the same thing. They might say it in a different way, but they all say the same thing. But effectively, I can remember there was one period in my life, Kara and I share a similar career because we've, she's in real estate. I've been in real estate for 43 years. And and this is 26 years ago when we were going to settlement on our new home. We were $10,000 short in settlement money for the down payment. And I had counted on a certain number of settlements going through. Well, a few didn't make it to closing. And my father was still alive, and my father, in his entire life, was notorious for being a cheapskate and very, very tight with money. But he had an incredible burst of generosity for whatever reason in those years. And he made the statement that I will give each one of you children, he had four kids, 4 children, and he said, I will give each one of you children $10,000, but you have to ask for it. And I, being the oldest, never asked for 50 cents, forget about $10,000. But when I realized I wasn't going to get to closing because I was short, and I legitimately couldn't go to the bank and borrow it. That was against the rules. So I actually had to swallow my pride and ask him for the money. And I know it was one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. But it made me, first of all, it made me recognize that the universe will find a way to meet your needs, no matter what. If you have to swallow your pride, so be it. It's not that big of a deal. But at that time, I thought it was awful. But anyway, I did get my money to get to closing. One of the essays deals with trusting your feelings. There are some things that I had read recently that kind of dissed your feelings, and I didn't quite understand what they were talking about, because my whole being and the whole way I've ever lived is to completely trust my feelings, because my feelings, I felt, were what connected me to God. My feelings were the way that God spoke to me. I mean, if you stop to think about it, how does a baby know it's being molested? It doesn't feel good. And so, effectively, it's the same thing.
It's pre-verbal.
It's pre-verbal.
Pre-verbal, and there are certain categories of beings that will always be pre-verbal, and we happen to be verbal.
Exactly. And the beauty is, I set up a little, I don't know if you call it acronym, DC to G, Direct Connect to God. This is what I feel your feelings are. A direct connect to God. so that you feel and you sense what it is that God is trying to tell you.
And that's also the foundation of Abraham Hicks,
Too.
feeling.
I didn't realize that. Okay.
Yes.
I didn't realize that. That's interesting. Okay. Another essay dealt with never giving up. I don't know how many of you remember the 2004 Olympics. If you watch them, Paul Hamm, the gymnast, he was favored to be number one. He and his twin brother were from Wisconsin. And in the third to the last round, he slipped. And in the slip, it put him back to 12th place. And his coach told him, he said, anything can happen out there. Do not allow that to affect the rest of your performance, because he had 2 more events. He ended up doing 2 perfect events, and he ended up actually getting the gold medal for that. And so from 12th place back to first, or whatever it was, back to first, is incredible. And so I do know that I have felt that that's a theme I've accepted in my life. No matter what the universe has thrown me, I just keep going. And I definitely learned that from my parents. All right. I think the last thing I just wanted to say was that I know that when I became a real estate broker, I literally thought that I had found the perfect career for my personality. I was so happy selling real estate. And I was happy servicing my clients. I was happy in everything about it. I didn't even mind giving up weekends, giving up family time, giving up vacations. My clients came first. That's just the way it was. My husband, thank God, was in real estate, so he understood that, and he pitched in and helped. But somehow, as the years went by, I started to see that there was some element missing. There was a hole in my heart, and I didn't quite know why. And so that's when I knew inside my heart that I was so drawn to spiritual things, but yet wasn't willing to give them full expression, because I just couldn't find a way to make a living with this. And so now I know that the way I see myself is I'm still a salesman, but I'm a salesman for God. And slowly, it doesn't matter. My bills are always paid. And it doesn't matter how much comes from real estate, how much comes from spiritual work, it all totally works out. And I know that it's just an incredible feeling of knowing that you've got effectively the universe behind you. And in this sense, I literally, when I say the universe, I'm talking about the angels, the saints, the ascended masters, everything, the whole spiritual vibration. But anyway, I think that will be it for me.
Give me Lauren.
Lauren, that's right.
So feelings are a direct connection to God. I was just wondering about the like sociopaths and people who have problems with their feelings, or just don't really have any.
Who have no feelings.
Right. But what went wrong there? Is there any hope for them to ever connect with God, or why would they have been cut off that connection?
Okay, Lauren, in my paradigm, you come to the planet, you play a role. In this lifetime, as a sociopath, they're playing a very negative role. And again, from all the books that I've read in metaphysical literature, it takes a much stronger soul to play a negative role than it does to play a saintly role. So in spirit, that soul could be a very high vibration. But here, on this plane, it plays a very low vibration. And does that make sense?
Kind of. It's just weird.
It's tough to make sense of that
Right.
one.
That's a hard thing.
Don't
Okay.
pretend, it's a tough one.
Right. Because we're still embodied. We still have the effects of the problems that they inflict on us and the problems that they inflict on society. And effectively, in a way, I also look upon it as somehow or other, instead of condemning that person, send compassion, send love, send light. And you'll see as Victoria does this, does the meditation, she's going to, if you do it exactly the way you did it at my home, she'll say something and then she'll stop, because then she allows it to integrate. And in that integration period, and it's not that long, it's just, maybe 3 to 5 seconds. You can, if you think of something, bring it forward, because otherwise she will, so this is kind of an interactive thing, because she might jog your memory for what you should bring forward. And, but anyway, Lauren, just all I've learned through everything I've done so far is just to work with light and just to work with the vibration of love. I can't understand why people do what they do, why sometimes the government acts in the manner that it does, and why things happen out there that are so damaging for mankind. But I can do my part, and that is to send light.
And perhaps the question is, how could we learn divine love? How could we learn unconditional love and unconditional forgiveness without having those people who are so horrific that they are unlovable? They can't be forgiven, because in order for us to grow, somebody has to play the sacrifice of being that tough role, of being that person who we don't get. I mean, how can we love this person? How can we forgive that person? Well, when we have the answer to that question, share it.
So do they also have guides, though, around them, trying to help direct them towards the light? Or are they really just playing a negative role where they're just bringing in more fearful type energy?
Do they have guides? That's a good question, Kara.
There are people who are here who have roles. And in playing that role, they have what they need to play that role for as long as that role is necessary.
Yeah. As soon as you said that, though, did they have guides? What I saw was, guides. They're not very pretty. So effectively, they're negative, guides. And at least that's instantly what came into my mind. So it's, and I think it just goes back to what Matthew said. It's the light against the darkness. It's the contrast. It's for us to see. I mean, if you had nothing but light, would you understand what light was? You wouldn't, because it was all light. So, but when you have the contrast, and why, when Christ said, when 2 or more are gathered in my name, there am I. And we know how every time we have a group of us, how our prayers and our meditations go out and effectively mean more total than just a single one of us doing the same thing. And so what I started thinking of was, all right, think of the blackest black you can think of. Now light one candle. Can you see it? You can. But now put 2 candles, 5 candles, 10 candles, 20 candles. Can you see how much brighter it is? So effectively, that's what we're going to do with our meditation today. I truly believe, in spite of the fact that there's Nostradamus's predictions that there will be a 3rd World War. Disappearance of the Universe, Gary Renard, there's going to be a third world war. Because that's one of the questions he asks his future self, who is the one who channels the book to him. Is there going to be another world war? My paradigm? Absolutely not. I don't believe it. Because I feel we, as enlightened beings, can change that. We can actually change that. So I just feel that it's up to us in our wholeness to come together. And not only did the August 24th march take place? That was the anniversary of Martin Luther King.
Yes, it
died.
did.
So that did take place.
Absolutely.
So now September 21st is World Peace Day. And so there's a gathering on the West Capitol. And there's also another one September 24th. There's one at the Washington Monument. So
Every
there's more and
Sunday.
more.
Every Sunday there is a request to join in the prayer for peace there. This is just the 11:11 Cairo time, so this is 5:11 our time. It's just for peace every Sunday. Just so many different sources just to give opportunity to come together.
To come together.
Maybe
Right.
more than two.
Right. And Elizabeth, you had your hand up?
Oh, I was just going to comment about the idea of the negative, somebody who has a role in this life to be particularly negative is actually a more powerful spirit. That Abraham Hicks has said that about Hitler, that Hitler was a very powerful spirit. It just happened to all go negative in the lifetime that he was living.
I remember
Right.
Edgar Casey said that, like, this soul about Hitler, this was before the Holocaust, he said that this soul will never do anything bad.
Ever.
Right. This
Right.
soul is so bright, and, like, he's going to guide Germany. So that's
Right. And it's interesting because as soon as you said that, the picture that I got in my mind was almost like archangel energy. That's how brilliant that soul had to be because just think, you say the word Hitler,
Right.
everybody just like, it's like bad, 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 So anyway, you're gonna have to shut that off, sweetie. She never shuts off her phone, no matter what we say to her.
Because I have, and then I did turn back on.
All right, well,
I'm reading it as well today.
okay. All right.
I'm sort of a little bit compelled to say something because you're from Poland, my
Absolutely.
parents were from Poland, so I have very strong connections to the questioning of what that was all about. So one way that I look at the individual who was in the body, Hitler, some people don't like me to hear me say this, but he was a master at effectiveness. So that's what you can appreciate and know. If one person can be that effective, then develop that myself to be effective, but with a different intention.
And a different goal in mind.
Right.
Yeah.
So he was a master of effectiveness, and that I can really appreciate that there is somebody else who's effective, and start looking for other people who are equally effective, try to model them, and make a better world.
Right, right. And I know I had told this story before, but there was, and I think it was one of those dimensional dreams, or somebody had a vision or something or other, but this came from the gentleman who introduced me to A Course in Miracles. And he said that he actually went to a different dimension of planet Earth, where a young person was sitting there, and it was one of the aspects of Hitler. It wasn't the direct soul of Hitler, but it was one of the...
An aspect,
one of
right.
the 144 souls. And so they were talking to him and saying, well, yes, you did this, you did this, you did this, you did this. And this soul, this being in that dimension started crying. He said, I'm not capable of that. I'm not capable of that, So effectively, this is why I always go back to, we play a role. That's all we do on this planet. When you stop to think, Mother Teresa and Lady Di, Princess Diana, died on the same day. Mother Teresa wanted to leave the planet totally unnoticed. She didn't want publicity. And so how do you submerge that? Die on the day when the whole world's focus is on Princess Di. So, and then I met a young man once at a seminar who said this. The whole world said, Princess Di, Princess Di, Princess Di. And she did. So I'm thinking, oh God, okay.
From
Watch
my
the power of your
NLP
words.
from my NLP background, I was telling people as soon as she and Charles got married and she kind of became on the world front, I said, everybody's saying calling her Princess Di, and I said, please don't do that.
Call her Diana.
Call her Diana.
Yeah, interesting.
Because the unconscious mind can't it's so literal.
Right. And that was the point of what this young man said. Princess Di, Princess Di, Princess Di.
And I always called her Diana.
Yeah. But anyway, all right. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Great.